just too hard. Sam described some of the challenges that he had earlier in reaching to where he is today. We have a discussion this evening on fear. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm sure none of you get afraid. But what excuses do you use to steal your dreams? Well, back to the questions I asked just a few minutes ago. Can the average person be dreamers? Do you need to be extra special to be a dreamer? And do dreams really come true? I'm going to suggest that the answer to those questions is yes. So what did Joseph have that led him to be successful? What gave him the motivation to persist through all the trials and all the tribulations and all the doubt that may have been with him through his journey? Well, the first answer rests in the Almighty God. Joseph kept in touch with the one that makes all things possible. He had a relationship with God. He developed his relationship with God. He nurtured that relationship with God. A second answer was that he maintained his determination to succeed. He did not succumb to the "I'm afraid," or "I'm not too good," or "I'm not good enough." Joseph persisted until the end. He was diligent in all that he did. I talked about the work ethic earlier. Joseph was willing to step into unknown territory. He was willing to step out on faith. He was willing to take criticism. He was willing to try new things. Now, successful dreamers don't give up. Successful dreamers are determined to make their dreams a reality. Successful dreamers persevere until the end. Successful dreamers are willing to step into unknown territories. Successful dreamers explore what the world has to offer. Successful dreamers explore and try new things with different options to fulfill their dreams. Successful dreamers are willing to ignore the dream stealers. If there are any dream stealers in here today, don't stifle the dream. Dream on. How many of you are willing not to give up? How many of you are willing to be determined to make your dreams a reality? How many of you are willing to persevere until the end? How many of you are willing to step into unknown territory? How many of you are willing to explore what the world has to offer? How many of you are willing to ignore the dream stealers? I want to review our text for the day, and I'm going to read from my advancement that began as a dream. I'll read from the New Living Translation, and we're going to explain the first part of the verse for today, which is about Joseph being a youthful dreamer. One night, Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. "Listen to this dream," he said. "We were out in the field, tying bundles of grain. Suddenly, my bundle stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before mine." His brothers responded, "So you think you will be our king, do you? Do you actually think you will reign over us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dreams and the way he talked about them. Soon, Joseph had another dream. And again, he told his brothers about it. "Listen, I have had another dream. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me." Can you identify with sometimes sharing your dreams and maybe sometimes the responses that you get back? How does that impact you? How do you allow it to impact you? Well, let's move on to Genesis 41. Let's fast forward a little bit, and let's talk about the dreams being fulfilled. Genesis 41, 42 to 44. Then Pharaoh removed his signet ring, mercy, from his hand and placed it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in fine linen and hung a gold chain around his neck, and then he had Joseph to ride in the chariot reserved for his second in command. And wherever Joseph went, the command was shouted, "Kneel down." So Pharaoh put Joseph in charge of all Egypt. And Pharaoh said to him, "I am Pharaoh, but no one will lift a hand or foot in the entire land of Egypt without your approval." What would a world be without dreamers? Well, we wouldn't be able to appreciate the things that we take for granted. Without dreamers, food would spoil. Without dreamers, disease would run rampant. Without dreamers, travel would be limited. Without dreamers, business would not flourish. And without dreamers, ships would not sail. Without dreamers, trains would not run. Without dreamers, planes would not fly. And without dreamers, spacecraft would not make it to the moon and beyond. Where would we be? Mansa Musa was a dreamer. Dreams allowed him to lead an industrious and wealthy West African kingdom with a flourishing economy that could boast powerful, well-organized political systems. Benjamin Banneker was a dreamer. His dreams allowed him to design a city that is now our nation's capital. Eli Whitney was a dreamer. His dreams allowed him to develop the cotton gin, which drastically improved the economic situation of the clothing industry. Frederick Douglass was a dreamer. His dreams allowed him to greatly increase the presence of blacks in the literary world, which was a critical part in the advancement of the black race. Harriet Tubman was a dreamer. Her dreams allowed her to be one of the greatest conductors of the Underground Railroad, which aided thousands of slaves to realize freedom from slavery. Martin Luther King was a dreamer. His dreams allowed him to be one of the greatest leaders, making one of the greatest impacts in the fight for civil rights. Dream on. Jesus Christ was a dreamer. His dreams allowed him to create light and darkness on the first day. His dreams allowed him to create the heavens on the second day. His dreams allowed him to create the land and the seas on the third day. And his dreams allowed him to create the moon and the stars on the fourth day. His dreams allowed him to create the birds of the air on the fifth day. And his dreams allowed him to create the animals of the ground on the sixth day. His dreams allowed him to make man in his image and breathe into his nostrils the breath of life on the sixth day. Dream on. Paul Laurence Dunbar was a dreamer. Booker T. Washington was a dreamer. W.E.B. Du Bois was a dreamer. Steve Jobs was a dreamer. LeBron James was a dreamer. Alex Haley was a dreamer. Arthur Ashe was a dreamer. Tweenie Boateng was a dreamer. Abina Boateng was a dreamer. Akua Boateng was a dreamer. Dwayne Oner was a dreamer. Ethan Oner was a dreamer. Silas Vernon was a dreamer. Emma Sosa was a dreamer. Peter Muvanyi was a dreamer. Dita Nebamyami was a dreamer. Michael Poku Jr. was a dreamer. Annette Mapano was a dreamer. Gianna Kadei was a dreamer. Michael Kadei was a dreamer. Melissa Kadei was a dreamer. Nadesh Kadei was a dreamer. Tyler Burnside was a dreamer. And now that I've gotten in trouble by forgetting some people, I'll fix that by saying everyone here is a dreamer. Inventors dream dreams. Writers dream dreams. Musicians dream dreams. Business people dream dreams. Scientists dream dreams. Politicians dream dreams. Preachers dream dreams. Young people dream dreams. Dream on, dream on, Dream on. Today is Education Day, and we all have dreams, and there is a process that we need to take in order to make the journey through all the challenges that we face. Being prepared, not just in book academics per se, but in life lessons is the purpose of education. And today, I want to really make an appeal to those here who want to say that they are committed to the process of education. I mentioned earlier some dreams that we may have here today, dreams of being a lawyer, dreams of being a scientist, dreams